Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing another blaster review. This is the Dart Zone Pro Mark II. It says right here, the Mark II. This is a interesting blaster because it's not a blaster you can get off store shelves. You actually have to order this thing through Target, or I think more recently you could get a Walmart version of this. And you can only get it online, not on store shelves. This is probably the coolest blaster I own. It's probably also the most expensive blaster I own, and we'll get to that later on in the review. But let's open this thing up real quick and show you what's inside. Alright, so before we open it, let's talk about the box. It's a very simple packaging. No ink. No visual what the blaster looks like, just blank cardboard. It's a bunch of warnings, tells you where it comes from, who makes it. But the most interesting of the warnings is this one. Altering the state or federal markings or coloration of this product in order to make its appearance more realistic is dangerous and may be considered a crime. Basically, this will give you context of what this blaster looks like when we actually open it. So, of course, the rest of it just talks about how to properly use it. But that part of the warning is basically this blaster is going to have some interesting visuals to it. So, let's get it open. Okay, so we're going to open the box. I've already opened it actually, and actually played with the blaster quite a bit. Because I got this on Christmas, and, you know, too excited to open it. But here we are. Here's the box. I'm gonna open it, and there we have it, right here. This is our very firearm-looking Dart Zone Pro Mark II. Very small blaster, believe it or not. It's heavy. That's actually because of the grip plates here. I think they're made out of zinc. They're just cast metal. It's like a Hot Wheel. Whatever the Hot Wheels are made out of, that's what this is made out of. And they're metal, and it's pretty heavy. It also has a heavy spring, pretty weighty thing. But before we talk about the blaster, let's talk about the rest of the contents of the box. It comes with 12 of these, I guess they're called Dart Zone Pro darts or whatever. People call them bamboo darts. That's because of these weird ridges. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll show them later. And it comes with 2 speed loaders. But this box is, you know, pretty thick, and the blaster itself is, you know, pretty thin, right? Because there's 2 layers to this. Okay, we're gonna take this top layer out, put that up to the side, and you can see right in there a bunch of extra accessories. So, our instructions are in here. I think these actually, when you open the box, are actually on top. I think they're like this, along with, I think this slip of paper here. Yeah, this slip of paper is also here, telling you can't return it to the store because you can't buy this at a store. You have to go online. But they're the instructions, and it comes with a couple of cool accessories. First thing we're going to talk about is this. So we already have orange on the tip, but if there's ever an issue where you need more orange, or your state law say it needs to have a certain amount, I don't know how it works, you can put on here for even more orange. Honestly, the blaster doesn't look half bad with it. Gives it kind of this weird like suppressor, or like, as they call it. They literally refer to it as a muzzle brake for some reason. This thing does not have any muzzle braking needs. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. And next thing we have is this. Now, what is this? This is a holster for your speed loaders. I want to say they go in, it's going to go in like, I don't remember how these go in. I think they go in face down, like so. Like that. You got the 2 speed loaders in here. It also, by the way, comes with a couple of extra screws, a couple of nuts, and some extra O-rings for when those parts wear out. And it comes with this holster for your blaster. Very nice holster. Doesn't really come out easily. Can rotate. I really like this holster. I really like the whole concept of this blaster. Also, it was actually just, these weren't just floating around, these are tied in, but as I said, opened it on Christmas because I couldn't wait any longer for this blaster because I'm really excited about it. So, that's all the contents of the box. So, let's go in a little more detail of what this blaster. Alright, but before we get into the nitty-gritty about the blaster, let's talk about the accessories. On the muzzle brake, you have this little clip here for attaching it to a belt. And I have a belt right here to demonstrate that. Just hooks in like that. This is because you can't actually put the muzzle brake onto the blaster with the belts in the holster, so they just won't fit. Holster also has these loops, obviously for belt. Just loops in like so. There we go. Just loops in like that. Put on your belt and ready to go. It's a very sturdy little plastic thing. It's curved to fit, easily fit most people's hips. Also, the speed loader holder has a couple loops for that. Same thing, very sturdy. Build quality on the blaster, by the way, and all the accessories are very nice. It's very nice. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the accessories. We'll talk about reloading these. We'll talk about reloading the blaster when we actually get to the blaster. Talking about the blaster, so let's actually go straight to that. Alright, so let's talk about the blaster. But before we do that, we should talk about the darts. The reason they call them bamboo darts is because they have these little segments, kind of like bamboo. I'm not going to be using these at all for the review, because these things are hard to get and are somewhat expensive. So instead, I'm going to be using readily available stuff. Because might as well. I've already tested these out with our somewhat easy to get Adventure Force Pro darts. Same company, by the way. Dart Zone makes these and these. There's also a Target variant, which is red and has a different tip. But I'm just going to use those because that's probably what people are going to buy. They're probably going to buy these, also buying that, because I think these cost way more than these. They're good quality. The reason they have these rings is for a better air seal. But I'm not even going to bother using these. So we're going to use these because I don't want to lose them and they're really expensive. Let's just talk about the functions of the blaster. So as I mentioned, these are metal grips. It has a metal barrel. It has some pretty decent sights. Not a lot of markings. This is powered by PT Dart Zone, which is Primetime Dart Zone. It's Mark II. Not Adventure Force, the Dart Zone logo there. Has a safety selector. If it's on, pushed in on the left, the trigger is a move. Push it on the right, trigger moves. It's a slide primed blaster with an internal half-length dart magazine. It has these kind of quad feed lips, so it doesn't really jam. This, by the way, is a sealed breech system. Unlike Nerf, who usually does who puts their barrels attaching it to here, the barrel's actually here. This is where the dart gets sealed in. That's why it's called a sealed breech. It's kind of like an actual firearm. So there's even more actual firearm things with this. Yeah, it's kind of an odd blaster. So it holds a total of 6 rounds. Here's our darts. 6 rounds. I'll just quickly load these up. Like so. You have 2 of them. Pull out the holster. And it'll go in. I still don't really know how these go in. I think it goes in like this. For some reason it doesn't want to go in like this. I guess it's because something. But I guess the arrow has to be pointed that way to put them in. I don't know. It's odd. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong. Anyway, it seems to only go in one direction. They go in like that. Pull out your speed loaders. Take your magazine, your speed loader, put it in like that with the arrow facing that way. Right? And then you just push down. Now, of course, you could just load it in through the top. That takes forever. And once it's done, push forward, and you are ready to fire. So let's actually go and fire this thing and see what happens. So from that last segment, this thing is loaded up. Turn our safety off. And let's just get to firing. It's a pretty heavy trigger pull. Let me get it. See if we can hit the one on the left. Man, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. Come on. Oh, it's a very heavy trigger pull. Too high. Dude, that's to the left. Ah, gosh, this trigger pull. So heavy. Oh, got it. And got it. And we got one more to shoot that downrange. I think we have one more. Yep. Now we're empty. Yeah, as you can see, we hit the targets. It's alright with this thing's alright with accuracy. It's just the trigger pull is really heavy. Like it feels like it's gonna break it. It's because of the spring in here is really heavy. Another thing I didn't really mention about this thing is the hole here. That's a priming indicator. So if I put my pinky in here, because it's gonna destroy it if I don't. You'll notice that the orange thing is no longer there. It's a priming indicator to tell you that this thing is ready to fire. But let's put it on safe, even though it's empty. And yeah, let's get down to the range test. So I didn't mention earlier, but the table right there is about 18 feet. So that's our marker, because I only have a 25-foot tape measure. So we're gonna go see. The wall there is about 50. It's about 50. Not sure. So we're gonna load this thing up again with 6 darts. This, by the way, is a little issue. If you see, that dart didn't go all the way in. You can just shove it in there. Maybe I put 7 in here. Now we have a magazine jam. Let me quickly. Yeah, that's what sometimes happens with the speed loader. So I guess we'll just have to put them in manually. And last one. Okay, I'm gonna fire a couple shots downrange. Safety off, and just gonna aim straight. And it went pretty far, about 50 feet for those couple of those shots. But you can also see it kind of veers off to the right. I wonder if that's from the darts or from the blaster itself. But that's kind of this weird thing. Right now I'm actually going to move back to the targets because I want to show it with its muzzle brake. Alright, as you can see, we are moved back to the targets and the wind goes and blows one down. But we're going to do a accuracy test. My gosh, the wind has better accuracy than me. But we're going to be doing it with the muzzle brake attachment on. So let me go set up those targets. Alright, it's primed and ready to go. Safety's off. And the wind is not blowing, so. I got it. And a little bit to the left. I don't know if I hit that. But let me fire a couple. Just keep firing down range. Yeah. Alright, we're going to move the camera over back to the range side of things and see how the range goes. So as you saw from that last segment, accuracy either, I don't know, maybe it was affected. Maybe it made it better. So only got it in a couple shots. And we got to load it up again with 6 rounds. See if it affected range. My goodness. If anything, none of them veered off to the right. If anything, I think the muzzle brake actually makes it fly straighter. I don't know why. It's just a hunk of plastic without any rifling. I mean, you can't really see it, but yeah, just these little grooves. I don't know, maybe the muzzle brake makes it better. Like, I guess. Yeah, let's move on to my final thoughts about this blaster. But before we move on to my final thoughts, I actually want to talk about it firing full-length darts. So, this thing, magazine-wise, this thing will not fit a full-length dart. So, instead, we treat this thing basically like a either a breech-loaded single-shot pistol. So you get the dart in. It's a little finicky. By the way, these are the Adventure Force green waffle darts that I've shown on the channel before. We're just gonna close it. Fire this thing down range. Kind of fishtails off. The other way of doing this is loading it through the front, using another dart to kind of push it all the way in, and it goes pretty far. So this is just for fun. So now let's move on to my final thoughts. So what are my final thoughts on the blaster? But before we go on that, we'll talk about a couple things. First off, its cost. This blaster retails for $79.99. United States dollars, obviously. And this is what you get for it. Also the 12 darts, picture of the 12 darts here, right? This is what you get for it. And honestly, I would say if it was just the blaster and the magazines, I'd say definite no. We're not gonna recommend this blaster. But because you get the holster, the muzzle brakes, you know, that kind of stuff makes up for it. Also the nice box. It's a nice box, and it's what I keep this thing in all the time when I'm not using it. And I relatively like this blaster. I'm going to go out and say it. This is probably one of my favorite blasters. Not my most favorite. It's one of my favorites. I'd say it's one of my top 5 favorite blasters I own. We're going to go over some of the cons right now. I would say the first con is definitely availability. How can you get this blaster? You have to go through Walmart or Target to get it. Walmart will give you an orange one. This is the Target one, so it's red. And you have to actually go online. There's no other way to get it. You can't go on Amazon and buy it from Amazon, but you have to get it through those 2 places. That's basically it. It's harder to get this than something else. Another con I would say is definitely the magazine jamming. As you saw in one of the segments when I was shooting down range, you saw how the magazine kind of had the 3 darts facing up in the grip here, and that caused issues. It wouldn't do anything. The blaster itself doesn't jam, like the actual firing system doesn't jam. It's usually the magazine, for me at least. Maybe it's the ammo I'm using, stuff like that. I would say another con is definitely the trigger pull. The actual prime is pretty heavy, but what do you expect from a thing that's going to be shooting 100 or 130 FPS? It's the trigger pull. That's something that I really don't like about this thing. The trigger pull is really heavy. I know I get it because of the spring and everything, but that's one of the negatives for me. So let's go over the pros of this thing. First off, it's just talk about the build quality. This thing is fantastically, it's solid. It's a very solid blaster. When I first got this thing, I want to know how well it was, and it's a very solid thing. This thing, plastic doesn't really flex. It's very hard plastic. It's very reliable when the magazine doesn't screw things over, but screw things up. But yeah, it's a very nice blaster. You know, has these quad feed lips. I think I showed that earlier. If I didn't, they have quad feed lips, which actually helps with the dart stabilization. As you can see, when it goes in, while it pushes the dart, it's still being stabilized by these 2 front ones till it's all the way forward. Compactness, it feels great. It's a very compact blaster. I think it looks cool with and without the muzzle brake. I like how it comes with the holsters. I think I mentioned that kind of early on when I was talking about the pricing and everything. I like how the holsters, speed loaders are pretty nice when they work. Yeah. Overall, I would only recommend this blaster if you are kind of in a competitive sense, or target shooting and stuff. That would be the only thing. I consider this a piece of sports equipment, not a toy. Especially because of how high powered it is and what it looks like. You know, it's more on par with airsoft or paintball than it is for just casually going through your house and, you know, playing with younger kids or something. The little box says 14 plus on it. But overall, that's who I'd recommend it to. People who are more competitive. Wouldn't recommend it for people, you know, who just want to have a blaster to go, you know, have casual battles indoors. I'd say go for this if you're in like a large field, because the thing goes far, 50 plus feet, pretty accurately, pretty straight. That's what this is used for. So yeah, I would say that would be the end of this review. Thank you all for watching. I would say comment down below what your thoughts are on this blaster, and also recommend other things. I would like to say go check out my other reviews on Nerf products. I have a review on my Nerf Fortnite Bolt Action Sniper Rifle Legendary. It's up on my channel. Go check that one out. Yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.